Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Simplified, a show whose USP is the irresistible banter between four friends, once described as it sounds like I'm eavesdropping on an interesting conversation among four intelligent people drinking craft beer in a Bangalore pub and learning so many things and laughing my guts out. This description was, of course, provided by me, as our producer told me that real reviews could not be read out on air without obtaining a censorship certificate. Joining me in this craft brewery today are four fine specimens. Firstly, there is Tony, who is sort of like a nice IPA, slightly dark, a little bit bitter in the beginning, and takes a little getting used to. But once you get used to him, he's the only one you will want. Hello, Tony.
I literally love IPA. I can't taste any other craft beer now. So this is perfect for me. Thank you so much.
Then we have Shriketh, the Hefeweizen, the most universally loved, bright and happy. Since he spent some time in Gujarat, he has the lowest ABV of the lot. And since he spent time in Gujarat, he also has the tinge of orange in him. Hey, Shriketh.
Wow.
It took me a bit for that to land. But
It's got
sure,
the highest
why not?
Ahmedabad by volume though.
I don't know what the entire etymology of Hefeweizen is, but El Jefe in Spanish is the chief. So all makes sense
That
now.
is our first
it
fact
makes
of the
sense.
day.
Then we have Naren, aka the Stout. And no, this is not a fat joke. We craft beer fans are better than that. Like a good coffee stout, Naren is aged, is smoky AF, quite creamy, and given his recent abstinence, is quite rare to find at a Mumbai brewery these days. Cheers, Naren.
Thank you.
And as for me, I'm Chuck.
Do we say AF or AF? Have we
AF,
been doing
AF,
this long?
AF, autofocus.
Have you got something for you, or are we allowed to describe you?
I didn't bother writing up an introduction for myself, so equate me to whatever swill you will like.
Chuck is like one of those Belgian beers. Absolutely priceless, right, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been to
totally.
Belgium, and actually there are quite a few price tags on them.
No, Chuck is our cider. He's our insider.
Insider.
So,
Oh.
I couldn't think of it much better than that at this time.
No,
so.
at this point, I actually ran out of beer styles, which is why I didn't bother making one for myself.
you didn't think of insider only.
I think Chuck is like Indus Pride, no? Like ahead of his time.
Oh,
and like,
wow.
appreciated by select group.
Wow.
Wow.
3 people from SAB Miller's erstwhile marketing team have just stood up and clapped. Wow.
Spontaneously.
Our life's work has been validated.
Yeah. Wow, Indus Pride. Wow, that's a
Indus Pride.
It's a niche reference.
So people who have been long-suffering listeners of this show will know that, like Facebook's parent company, whenever we run out of ideas, we just introduce a new format. So we'd like to welcome all of you to the first ever episode of Simplified Half Pints. For one episode a month, each of us comes up with one small news item or one interesting thing we have read, one fact, or heck, lacking anything else, a PG Wodehouse monologue. It's sort of like no such thing as a fish, but you get all the simplified benefits. That is, less research and more bad jokes. Simplified half pints, 250 ml each of fun, leading to a litter of simplification, which is why there are signs put up. Do not litter, so that the simplified folks do not go off kilter, because their humor knows no filter.
Beautiful. Chuck.
This is
Amazing. Well done, well done.
Thank you. And we'll close the episode now.
This part of the podcast goes straight into the litter.
And regular simplified listeners will know that this episode has already peaked. So you are free to leave now.
Would you prefer this going into the litter or going into the bin thing for the inevitable simplified bugle
crossover? Yeah.
Crossover or intersection. Anyway, if you haven't been hearing anything so far, basically one random fact each. And we will start with Naren, who actually sparked up the idea for this, saying on our simplified board meeting that we should do a this and that episode to put in all pieces of miscellany. So Naren, why don't you take it away? You have a very interesting fact to begin this.
So first, I just want to ask you guys if you know about this organism called the Aedes aegypti.
Oh, is it the mosquito that causes malaria?
Exactly. So it's not the mosquito that causes malaria. It is actually the mosquito that causes... It's a mosquito that causes dengue.
Oh,
and
it's from
also,
dengue, Naren.
Yeah, dengue. Dengue.
Not dengue, as Sriket will no doubt clarify.
I said dengue.
Yeah.
Clearly, you don't know the more colorful parts of Telugu. God bless you.
Okay, the mosquito is the dengue and the person who gets it is the dengue. There.
Also chikungunya and also yellow fever. And the curious thing is this. In India, we have chikungunya, we have dengue, of course, and it's quite a serious problem. So till recently, and dengue is still around. It's just that, medical professionals have figured out how to manage it well. There's really no cure for it. You just have to make sure that the patient gets enough fluids to survive all the toxins of the virus, and that's why otherwise a lot of people used to die of dengue. The fatality rates are way down now, and that's thanks to better management. It's no cure. The thing is that
definitely no thanks to papaya leaves.
Yeah, no thanks to papaya leaves. What are the other things? I think kiwi fruit or dragon fruit or something. Yeah, a lot of non-specific. Yeah, somebody told me that dragon
become exotic.
Dear God, this sounds like a marketing campaign by Nature's Basket or something. All specific expensive fruits.
Basic funda about dengue is that your platelet count apparently goes down, and the old wives' tale or like old uncle's wisdom is that if you eat papaya leaves, somehow your platelet count will come up, which is obviously all nonsense. None of that happens. But anyway, now I believe there are like papaya leaf extract tablets and all. But none of that works. Just like stay in bed and get over it. That's about it.
I've never had this papaya leaf thing, but it's supposed to be quite wild tasting. Which is the reason why these tablets have a market.
Exactly. That's why it has a market, right? Like if the more wild tasting it is, the more efficacious you think it is.
And and talking about plants, a complete offshoot as happens here is that kind of got me into the placebo versus actual effect wala thinking again, because like my father had this pain in his leg for a long time, and he was like, and he went to the doctor said it's just, there's this Louis C.K. sketch from way back when where it says after you're a certain age, when you go to a doctor, they just take a scan of your leg and they say nothing can be done, it's just shitty now, right? So what do is you stretch it till the time you die and till the time you and your shitty ankle die. So basically my father got a similar kind of diagnosis where he said the ankle is worn out. So it hurt him a lot, and he tried every kind of allopathy or whatever, and then he goes and downstairs he goes and sits with a bunch of uncles downstairs every evening, and one of those uncles says there's this one particular leaf, and he takes him to the leaf tree and he says, take this leaf and wrap your foot in it for 10 days. All right. And so my father has been wrapping his foot in the leaf. I was like, "Okay, it's better than something other crap. Wrap your foot in whatever you want." He wrapped his foot. He's suddenly feeling better, and all. So now I'm like, okay, I looked this leaf up and all, and there's no real allopathic cure of any sort. It's not supposed to fix his ankle, but the whole placebo thing of it is so strong that, I'm pretty sure had I gone and picked out that leaf and given it to him, it wouldn't have mattered. But some 80-year-old uncle, like in his shaky voice, told him to use it. So that's why it's working really well.
Yeah.
This, before I forget, before I go on with my topic.
Yeah, what was your fact? I forgot completely.
He hasn't even gotten to it. We
should I? Yeah, I should. Yeah,
this is simplified. We have plenty of branches. Apparently.
Plenty of offshoots.
So we have. I have to tell you my placebo story. Is my favorite placebo story. Before I forget, it has nothing to do with the topic in hand, but so
when has that ever mattered?
That could also be a tagline for Simplified.
Just to be clear, Naren, we have to get particulars episode.
There are 4 topics. We haven't even got to the first one.
I'll tell my placebo thing very quickly because I'm pretty sure I'm going to forget. I've got the main fact written down, so I won't forget the main fact. But so the placebo fact is as follows, right? So my wife's uncle, a very, very jovial, witty guy, he told me this. He had a nephew who was like, when this guy was about 12, 13 years old, this nephew was maybe 3 or 4. And they used to live around Mangalore, a nice, lot of fields and things around. And he decided to go to the river. There was a river a few hundred meters away. And he took this nephew along, and then they sort of played in the river. And then this nephew says, uncle, I want to do number 2. So now this guy did some quick thinking. He said, if I have to, there are fields, so it's not a problem. But, then I have to do all his wash his butt and everything else. He's not really looking forward to that experience. So he told him, he picked up a pebble and he told him, you take the pebble and put it under your armpit. And as long as the pebble is in your armpit, you won't have to do number 2. And the kid did that, and he took that kid right from the river to home, like good 15-20 minutes, and the kid held on to it. And then once it was at home, he handed over the kid to the kid's mother to do all the necessary things and took off. So power
So
of
he
placebo.
held on to it and the stone under his armpit.
And the stone under his armpit.
Screw this. I'm taking a stone with me next time I go on an intercity bus ride.
Yeah, nice round black colored pebble. Perfect. Yeah.
No, once I scandalized everyone on Twitter by saying everyone who's traveled from Bangalore overnight to Kerala probably has had you have to stop the bus in the middle of somewhere to go number 2 somewhere good. It's inevitable because there are few of these shady restaurants around Madiwala from where you get onto the bus, and basically they are all Mallu restaurants, but during the middle of the night you will basically need to find a stone to put under your armpit.
Yeah, it could be a good startup, right? Yeah, my fact. So the fact is this: the same mosquito is responsible for chikungunya, for dengue, and for yellow fever. And the thing is, there is no yellow fever in India, and no one knows why.
This is not true. As someone who was in Kerala this weekend, I can very firmly say that half of Kerala is yellow and half of Kerala is Alba Celeste because the Football World Cup is on. So yellow fever is definitely a thing.
That kind of yellow.
I knew it.
God.
On that topic, Naren, one thing that you're very right about is that there is a very prominent, like when you go in Bombay, when you go to the airport, on the airport, like where you have to take the turn to finally enter that airport flyover, is where you can actually see a pretty big, prominent yellow fever hospital.
Yellow fever hospital. Yeah.
I've gone there and I've taken a yellow fever because if you go to Africa, I went to Africa once. You need that yellow fever vaccination. They won't let you in. They won't let you in back without a yellow fever vaccination card. So it's very important. But there is, for some mysterious reason, not that anyone is complaining, it's not present in Asia. Yellow fever. It's not there. The other diseases are there and they are as lethal as anything else. Chikungunya is also pretty dangerous. Dengue is very dangerous. And there is luckily no yellow fever. I can't seem to find out any reason why this is so. But that's what it is. That's my curious fact for this.
Your fact kind of reminds me of what it makes me think about. Is like sometimes you see it's like consolidation is here also. Sometimes you say, no, this brand, and this brand is all owned by the same parent company. We did this an episode on this, I think during the never-ending 150th episode many years ago, where the same conglomerate of mosquitoes is responsible for these 3 kind of diseases. Like here also, bloody hell, there is consolidation. They have a monopoly on diseases, it seems, not letting other insects have a chance.
What are the other vectors, I want to say? Is it vectors? Or
Vectors,
or
yeah.
viruses?
Yeah.
What are the other common vectors though? Like flies or for any
Flies. There is rats. Yeah. Fleas are infamous for the bubonic plague.
Oh, okay. We have fleas in India.
Yeah, they infest. So the bubonic plague was a particular kind of flea which lived on rodents. It started so this is another curious thing, right? So it was an unusually warm series of warm summers in Mongolia, and the grasslands.
Wait, is this the first line of your novel that you're no doubt writing?
Well, the rest of this book better be Ulan better than this.
So it was unusually warm series of summers, and the grasslands were blooming. And one of the denizens of the grassland was this little squirrel called a marmot, which the local Mongolians loved. And there were lots of marmots. They hunted them. They ate a lot of protein in their diet. Everyone did very well. Populations grew. And a young child named Temujin was born, who later became Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Genghis Khan went marauding, right? So he started conquering from Mongolia on the east, went right up to the gates of Rome, almost. I think it reached up to Turkey, sacked Bata, a lot of things. And after him, a few of his succeeding generations also did that. So they had a supply chain too. So they had, camels and horses and what have you, carrying booty back and carrying people and whatever from Mongolia there. And one of the hitchhikers on those caravans was this little pest, which was the flea, which was responsible for the plague, plague bacteria. And Mongolians were pretty immune to it. There's no record, but it wasn't, plague didn't hit them as badly as it hit the Europeans, because when finally it reached Europe, there was no resistance. It just spread through Europe like a wildfire. And what that resulted in was it affected poorer people more, because they used to live in more cramped surroundings. So the probability of spreading was much higher. And that's why a lot of the working class population just died, just vanished. People estimate 60%, 50%, 70% of the working class population just died. And that enabled the remaining working class people, because they were tremendously in demand. Everyone wanted washerwomen and, people to cook and whatever, clean, do all those things. They were able to demand higher wages. And that is one of the reasons, what do you say? The
labor laws and all that.
A lot of things happened, yeah.
As a result of that, yeah. But it all started with the flea, is what you're saying.
It all started with the flea, yeah.
Well,
and so we were connecting that with the vector, So that was
And there's also, of course, in modern day, of course, there is also something called designer's disease, but that's when they search for stock images, and that's another kind of vector. Sorry. I think that's okay, shall we close out that fact? Listeners, we are still perfecting this transition sort of thing. So, here's my fact, I want to say. This is on sparkling water, one of my buys of the year. It all started with Sriket recommending sparkling water earlier in the year, and then things quickly leading to a Mr. Butter machine coming home. We enjoy sparkling water because of an evolutionary quirk. Can you figure out what that evolutionary quirk could be?
If it was we, just the four of us, then it's because it's full of gas.
Which gas? The answer actually lies in your...
carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide.
So what role could carbon dioxide have played for evolution?
Carbon dioxide we were plants at some point of time?
Close enough.
I'm just writing alternative histories at this point.
That's all you need to join the media these days. Anyway, we evolved at some point of time to be able to detect carbon dioxide as food goes bad, so that we were able to keep, not eat food that had gone rotten. But then you might say, if we indeed found the taste or the mouthfeel of carbon dioxide opprobrious, then why do we enjoy sparkling water, which in some sense is like carbon dioxide to the mouth? It's carbonic acid or something of that sort. So the reason that scientists reckon for this is the same reason that some humans like spice, which is there's a certain...
I thought you were going to say like paneer.
No. Don't take dig at paneer. Paneer is baked. So, I'm just quoting from an article I read. The closest analogy is spicy foods. Back in 1997, a psychologist called Paul Rosen released a paper arguing that spicy foods were an example of people enjoying situations in which their bodies warn them of danger, but they know that they are really okay. So it's sort of like living on the edge sort of thing. I found that kind of interesting for both the spice part and the CO2 part. A few things. We were discussing this on Twitter earlier today, whether carbonated water is good for you and all that. And even before this particular recording, Naren and I were just discussing that. So net, it seems to be that carbonated water, which is basically, just water with a little bit of CO2 in it, nothing else. Like if there are additives like sugar and all that, is obviously much worse for your teeth and your body. But this by itself seems to have very, very minimal impact on the body. Maybe a little bit of enamel or something, but studies are so negligible, shows such negligible difference that you're pretty safe having it. And if it acts as a substitute for cola or something, then obviously it's going to be much healthier.
Yeah.
A few facts on this: carbonated water is acidic. Carbon dioxide and water react chemically to produce carbonic acid, a weak acid that's been shown to stimulate the same nerve receptors in your mouth as mustard. This triggers a burning, prickly sensation that can be both irritating and enjoyable. Also a tagline for Simplified. The pH of carbonated water is 3 to 4, which means it's slightly acidic. However, drinking an acidic beverage like carbonated water does not make your body more acidic. This is all from Healthline, copy pasted as is. So yeah, that's
basically they're
few
saying
notes.
your body will still be basic.
Oh, nice. I'm the chemical engineer, and it took you metallurgy guy to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's all. And I'm the guy who's interested in heavy metal. That's all. This is my fact. It's very small. This is how it was supposed to be, Naren, instead of you going off into random. I won't defend.
I don't know what all I say. Yeah,
We also don't remember.
I was thinking about something to add about this. So one time I went to Germany, and they extensively, almost everyone drinks sparkling water. And there was one
very,
desi guy
very
along with
famously,
me.
it's called soda only if it comes from the soda region in France. Otherwise, it's just called sparkling water. So in Germany, clearly you got sparkling water.
Cannot tell if you're bullshitting. Like, you've reached that level of Andy Zaltzman-ness, Tony. I cannot.
But I thought this is a famous meme format by now. The actual one is, it is called champagne only if it comes from the Champagne region of France. Otherwise, it's sparkling wine. Other things, like it's a Ponzi scheme only if it comes from the Ponzi region of France. Otherwise, it's just called sparkling crypto.
Okay. Here's a nice thing which I expect at least one of you to get. So I actually Googled soda Germany right now. What was the first result to come up?
There's a town called Soda in Germany.
No, there's nothing related to a town.
Something related to the World Cup, I'm guessing.
No, it's not related to the World Cup. That's a good guess. It is a very famous soft drink related fact from Germany.
Fanta.
Yes.
Nazi has its origin
Fanta
in
was
Nazi
created
Germany.
for Nazi Germany. Hey, that's another
Yes.
fact. So you get a bonus fact with this fact. If for those
But
of you who don't know,
I
please go on.
interrupted Naren before you interrupted Naren before Sriket is about to interrupt Naren.
I'm about to interrupt Chuck, but go on.
So all the desis were going nuts, right? So we are not used to drinking carbonated water. So we ask everywhere. None of us speaks German, so you ask people, and they listen to everything, and the rascals still give you carbonated water. So there was one guy finally who started he took a bottle of carbonated water. The lady gave it to him, and he launched into a rant about how you people give carbonated water, what a terrible country this is, you don't know the beauty of all kinds of rant. And she patiently listened to all of it. Then he opens the bottle and he drinks it, and he's convinced that this is going to be carbonated water, and actually it turns out to be still water. So very sheepish look, and he sort of very, very sheepishly apologizes and shuffles off. That expression was priceless.
Another offshoot. As an offshoot of what you were saying about Fanta, I just want to point out a very, very cool campaign that actually Coke did on Fanta in South America, in Brazil, I think it was LGBTQ week. And there's a popular, because there was a capitalizing on a popular saying in Brazil. That was where people would mock LGBTQ people in homophobic people in South America would mock LGBTQ people by saying that, basically saying this Coke is a Fanta, right? So basically it's a code for saying that this person is gay. So this Coke is a Fanta. So what Coke did during that week was specifically they actually launched limited edition Coke cans, where inside there was Fanta actually.
Oh, that's nice.
And they tried to reclaim that entire thing by saying that, you know what, if the Coke is a Fanta, it's actually a great surprise, right?
Wow.
It's actually a fun surprise for that. So they actually tried to reclaim that by launching. So I think it was called Essa Coca e Fanta or something like that, which is basically this Coke is a Fanta. And they reclaimed that term by saying that it's such a great surprise if the Coke suddenly turns out to be a Fanta, because they basically own both brands anyway. So, yeah.
Nice. From Germany to Brazil, I want to bring this podcast back to its intellectual heart, which is the B of Simplified, with the fact that Mr. Butler actually has its registered address in Panampalli
Nagar, of course.
Wow.
And Malayalis get so excited by this, right? That if there is a company that has its registered address in Kerala, we are all full into. So much
Is it
so
like
that
some Is it a
No,
tax
so much
haven
so that-
business or the person is actually from Kerala?
No, they actually there. Like fourth standard, everyone's picnic used to be to the modern bread factory in high school in Edapalli, right? Because like literally only 2 factories can exist in Kerala at any point in time. So yeah, just wanted to highlight the Panampalli Nagar origins of the carbonated water you may or may not be drinking.
We'll be back with 2 more exciting facts after this break. Welcome back to Simplified Half Pints. We are halfway through our Stein. Is that what a liter of beer is called in German? No? Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
We are halfway through. And now we move on to Tony's fact.
Yeah, why not? So, Chuck, you started this episode by referencing PG Wodehouse and no such thing as a fish. I want to bring fish and Wodehouse together and read out a quote from Wodehouse. I believe this is from Joy in the Morning. And this is, I think, Bertie Wooster saying, "It is not like you to be a defeatist. Don't give it up. Go and brood in the kitchen. There may be some fish there. Did you notice any when you were there yesterday? Only a tin of anchovy paste, sir." My heart sank a bit. Anchovy paste is a slender reed on which to lean in a major crisis.
Oh, I remember this so well.
Yeah. So this well-loved fish that is anchovy has references in Fish Rock by Thaikudam Bridge twice. It is also called Netholi and damn it, I don't remember the other one.
Again, Tony, your subtle putting of Indian indie rock lyrics into every recording is not going unnoticed. But anyway, yes. Anchovy was referred in Fish Rock.
Yeah, twice, right? There's Netholi and there's one more name that I'm forgetting. There's also Veluri, so like very famous across Woodhouse, Kerala, but also in Peru, where apparently like centuries ago. Yeah, in Peru. So in Peru, anchovy is actually used to feed the livestock because their lands are not very... farmable. I'm sure there is a better term for that, but you can't like grow too much grass or anything on that because of the terrain and stuff like that. So they use anchovy to feed livestock and also eat it, but like they have tons of fish, right? But anyway, during Christmas time, basically fishermen noticed in Peru a long time ago that suddenly during some years, the anchovy would not come into their nets at all, right? And because it happened around Christmas time, they gave this phenomenon the name El Nino de Navidad, or as we can call it, Christmas child. Basically, El Nino sounds very nice, but if we call it baby, like someone in Kerala, you will probably smirk. So that is the origin of El Nino, and why this was relevant when we came up with this thought a few weeks ago was that Australia was hosting a World Cup, and like there were rains throughout the World Cup, right? And this is caused due to the opposite phenomenon of El Nino, which is related to it, which is called La Nina. Right. So essentially, if you look at Pacific Ocean, which is a bloody huge ocean, on the east lies Peru and South America, and on the west lies Australia, Indonesia, and the lot. Right. And in between this, there's nothing but a big stretch of ocean and winds, basically. Right. So there are 3 states to this. There is a neutral state when nobody is any the wiser. Then there is a state called El Nino, where the waters are, I want to say, warmer in Peru, and basically like causes this whole thing of fish going off the bite and waters warming and lots of floods in South America, probably North America as well, and droughts in Australia. And the condition is reversed when the trade winds become stronger. Trade winds are basically winds that blow from Peru to Australia in that sense, right? And basically just by the slight modification of this winds, lots of nonsense happens, right? Either there is drought or flood depending upon where you are placed in this 7-year cycle. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say as the fact that is known to everyone, but also we never bothered to read it up because it didn't feature in our 7th standard geography.
I was already educated about this fact because of Tony's reel that he had posted about this earlier anyway.
Anchovies are enormous. They come in huge schools. So that's why they are...
they're very learned fish.
Yeah, lots of schools.
No, I learned about so the one thing is in Southeast Asia, they're, as you mentioned, they're extremely popular. Like people love putting that on anything at all they can find their hands on. So especially when I was in Malaysia and being a vegetarian over there was constantly like hazardous. So while they would understand vegetarian as far as the food is concerned, the seasoning would always be like they'd put the anchovy seasoning on top of everything. So you basically have always had to order over there. You order your food, you say vegetarian, and then say no ikan bilis. Ikan bilis are anchovies in Malaysia.
Oh,
so
amazing,
you have to make sure you say no ikan bilis every time. Otherwise, your food will come nicely seasoned with anchovies.
Yeah. So I had a related fact to this, if I can get to it, is basically,
Go on.
so we spoke of La Nina. There is this very popular American caricaturist who was known as Al Hirschfeld, I want to say. And he had a daughter called not Nina, but Nina. Right. So whenever he did a caricature from the time she was born, he would hide the word Nina in every single one of his caricatures from then, right? So
wow.
and then it became such a fascination that people wanted to find where it is, so it became like a puzzle on its own, right? So Nina took on significance from there to the most common puzzle back in the day, which was crosswords, where you would find that there were like random unconnected boxes in a crossword, right? And you would put in messages there, right? Like my editor as a jackass, or like Monty Python's flying circus, or whatever. One of the cooler ones that I saw was stalactites going down and stalagmites going up, right? Like so it's like unconnected to everything in the clue, but like basically Nina is what it's called in a crossword if you find some hidden things there. Yeah, so there you go.
And
Nina
of course, for
Nina.
and for a very relevant for a Nina that one of us has done, you can go back and listen to the episode on cruciverbalism, where Tony had not been elevated to the stature of a simplified host and was just a mere guest. Where he talks about a Nina
I thought
that
being
he
the
would-
guest was the demotion. Tony and I came as like Tony and I came as like exalted guests, and then we were like,
Yeah,
baith ja."
that's true. That's true. Baith ja.
Alright.
Yeah. So also
Alright.
just to close this, the two references to fish rock is during the alternate chorus, he says Kuluva, which is also anchovy, and like Nettoli, which is there in the prominent one, which is also anchovy.
All right, so this has been a knowledge-packed episode till now, and will Shrikeet continue the trend?
Till now.
Yeah, no, so entirety of my research has been during that only. I just took one thing. So it's basically mine is not even one fact, it's 4 tiny facts and all around the World Cup. And 4 interesting things that I found around the World Cup, like funny things that have been happening. So the World Cup's going on right now.
Okay, okay. New rule at least for the next 3 months. Whenever you use the word World Cup, please mention which sport, because both of you said World Cup right now, talking about 2 completely different sports.
That's fair.
No, I mean, this is crucial because our podcasts are famously immemorial, right? Like, so like people listen to it at any point of time.
So we are listening
multiple years. Yeah.
So I'm referring to the FIFA Federation International
Football Men's Football World Cup 2022 happening in
World
Qatar
Cup,
right now.
year of our Lord 2022. And so we are in this World Cup. Basically, what has happened is there's like 4 random, unrelated, funny facts that I found, funny things that I found through the World Cup. So first was that, and this is also connected to another current geopolitical event that's happening, which is the anti-lockdown protests that are happening in China, right? So so while those anti-lockdown protests are happening, and there's a lot of like strife around that, and government is finding different ways to kind of curb the protests at home by restricting movement, by tracking people using those COVID apps, which are to track COVID, but actually now tracking them to find where protesters are venturing out to and all that stuff. So all of that is happening. What they're also doing is, obviously people in China are watching the World Cup as well, but the Chinese broadcaster who's getting that is actually there is a slight delay because they're live manipulating the feed to avoid showing any of the crowd shots. Because in China, because the lockdown has been so stringent ever since it has started, that people would absolutely riot if they discovered people are sitting in stadiums without masks. So because there it's like so stringent. So actually the feed that is being shown in China is absolutely devoid of any crowd shots. You are not going to be able to see any crowd shots whatsoever. So that's one random fact that I found that is going on right now. The second one, which takes us
They are
back
masking the
to
feed.
God's own country, takes us back to
Yay.
God's own country actually. So this is happening in Kerala, where apparently a bunch of Portuguese fans, Cristiano Ronaldo fans, were hoisting the Portuguese flag and walking around and like chanting about this thing. And some local BJP worker got offended and thought it was about it was the flag of an Islamic party. And he tore down the flag. And then after he started beating up all those guys as well. And then he got arrested because he thought it was the Islamic party's flag and not the Portuguese flag. so yeah, that is another beautiful fact of God's own country and our own country here.
No, the beautiful fact is that that hooligan got arrested, which would happen only in God's own country. If you were in
that is
another
true,
state, you'd
actually,
probably get a ticket or something like that.
I mean, otherwise you'd have a bunch of really confused Cristiano Ronaldo fans in prison sitting there. "मैंने क्या किया?" So
I don't know if you saw last night's match, but basically those guys would have been like, "We didn't touch the ball," as opposed to Cristiano Ronaldo. who's now
very
launched a
nice.
protest.
Good reference. And finally, moving to Africa, in Uganda, apparently it's been a trend in previous World Cups that a lot of jail breakouts happen during the World Cup because all the jailers are all busy watching the match. So this time during the World Cup, there has been a very strict ban on using mobile phones during the tournament for the guards, because they can keep an eye on the prisoners who are in prison so that they don't escape. So there's actually an enforced ban.
There used to be this old saying, right? Commit your sins while Sachin is batting, because even
Yes.
God is...
Yes.
Even
I guess
God
it's
is
kind of like the same
watching.
thing.
So
Exactly.
similar kind of situation. And the final fact, as it's not really a fact per se, but was one of the more hilarious things I saw during this week, was the Saudi Arabian team. So the Saudi Arabian team very famously beat Argentina in their opening match 2-1, and they were actually trailing at halftime. Right? They were trailing to a Messi penalty at halftime. And there is an amazing video out there, and we can probably link it in the description, where there is... so Harvey Renard is the coach of Saudi Arabian team. This guy is a Frenchman, right? And the Saudi Arabian team is obviously all Saudi Arabian. They speak Arabic. Harvey Renard is a Frenchman who admirably does speak English, right? So this man is basically, he's at halftime, he's basically yelling at the team saying that if you want to just stand around... if you guys want to stand around watching Messi, why don't you just go up to him and asking for a signature and autograph and all that?
No, asking for a selfie. Why don't you take your phones and go and take a selfie with Messi?
Take your phones and go and take a selfie with Messi. Why are you bothering playing and all that? So he's belting these guys. But the best part is, he has a translator with him. So he's yelling in English. There's a Saudi Arabian translator who's not just translating, but he's also translating the tone. So the translator is also yelling his head off at the players because he's trying to communicate what the coach is feeling. So you have these two guys who are in tandem shouting at the players. One is original, the other is a translation.
So a key question to ask over here is, the coach yelling at the translator or at the players? So is it like...
No, he's yelling at the players to his credit.
So two people are yelling at the players.
Yeah, that's what. But these guys are looking doubly morose because there are two people yelling at them.
People yelling at them in two different languages.
No wonder they scripted that comeback and came back from 1 goal down to win 2-1.
Did you say scripted? Yeah. You didn't hear that over here on Simplified, folks. Okay.
So excellent.
That was hilarious.
I did really have one fact, but tales from around the World Cup.
It's like the three of us ordered one beer each, and you just said, "Hey, I'll just order 4 the tasters or samplers, because anyway they add up to 330 ml." I think good strategy.
Pint.
Yeah.
And additionally, I had a very delayed realization that I am going to be able to watch the next World Cup from my hometown. World Cup's coming to Canada. And Canada, United States, and Mexico.
So you and Akshay Kumar.
Yes, So 2026, I should be able to watch at least some of the matches in Toronto.
Hometown
Nice.
and all it has become
Hometown.
suddenly.
But I think it's fair to say this won't be the last we see of this format, especially since
Which format
No,
are you
no,
talking about? Are you talking about Shrikesh moving to Canada? Are you talking about what you're doing on this podcast, the World
No,
Cup?
no, this particular format.
half pints
Half
because
pints,
yeah. Pint.
literally 5 minutes before, Chuck, you told us why don't we do this, and reminded Naren of the fact that he had posted on a group, and then he started with a completely different fact that he's never posted anywhere.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, my fact is that ADC
I had his
like,
original fact opened up and read a little bit about that and had jokes ready on that. And Bugger, he takes us off somewhere else. I'm like, where's he going with all this malaria nonsense? So anyway.
Malaria
Yeah,
nonsense.
when is it coming back to Sweden?
Yeah,
Edition
old
of
age is
the-
a terrible thing, man.
Okay.
I have
So
no
anyway,
clue what I'm thinking about.
The
Yeah.
the people who will decide whether this format will continue or not is you, dear
Yes,
fellow hosts.
dear
No, not
listener.
you. Not you guys, the listeners actually. There are some of, out there. So let us know what you think of this
Do
format
we
if you would
get
like us
to-
to continue. What?
Yeah. No, do we get to tell our listeners that we may be live on X date on Y place, or is that like a closed event? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
edit it out.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
actually not quite sure actually. So we are
Yeah,
going to do
say
some
it,
kind
then
of a
maybe we can
live.
edit
We
it
are
out.
doing some kind of a live recording on the 8th of December. Which is a Thursday in Mumbai as part of an event. I will post details of that somewhere on my Twitter or something of that sort. We'll figure that out. We don't have full details as which is why I'm not giving you, any more details.
Yeah. It's
but
not
we'll
the
figure it out.
150th episode continued.
Thankfully.
No, please.
But anyway, let us know whether you like this format. If you'd like to send in a fact so that we can fill in the awkward gaps in our conversation, we can do that as well. We'll have a listener entry in every episode as well. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much about it.
Wow.
I'm excited. This is the first new format we have tried since we decided to phase out profundities.
So yeah, take care, guys. Stay safe, stay factual, and stay simplified.